Hi everyone, my name is Kate Coleman and I'm from Deakin in Melbourne, Australia, and I'm going to talk about ePortfolios and open digital badges and propose a question to you, friends or foes. Now, my gorgeous friend Sir Drevet says that ePortfolios are organised collections of evidence demonstrating reflective learning. And he also calls open badges criterion-based trust systems. Now, I'm going to play on these two explanations to try and convince you that these guys are more than friends, that this gorgeous little badge on top or in that portfolio are a major partnership. What I'm proposing is that together they must have the potential to transform portfolio pedagogy when used to apply and make badge claims. I'm really excited by this potential and the opportunity for those of us in ePortfolio research and practice. All right, so first things first. I believe that portfolios are pedagogically rich, practice-based, purpose-driven, transformative spaces and places. Now, they're really hard to define because we use them contextually for varying purposes, for different audiences, and in a range of different contexts. Now, this makes it really difficult to actually pin down what it is that a portfolio is. And it's one of the things that we've been challenged by as ePortfolio researchers and practitioners. So this is where we get into the nuts and bolts of what I'm talking about with friendship and the relationship between portfolio and open badges. When I talk about portfolio pedagogy and I talk about badge claims, and then what all of this means in terms of context and evidence-based learning. All right, I'm going to ask you to put on your ePortfolio hat and to wear your ePortfolio lenses of learning and to start to think about open digital badges and what that means or can be. Now, I'm going to present a whole range of badge opportunities, but think about them in the friendship relationship between what it means for badge and portfolio. Okay, so we've got things like recognition badges, a badge that recognises who I am, what I know, and where I've done it. Informal badges, badges that I might earn from a museum or a library or some other kind of learning space outside of a traditional institution. What about institutional badges? What do these mean in the school sector, in universities, in colleges? What might these be and what would they represent? Who would be the stakeholders? ABLE badges is my example here for community badges. So ABLE has been badging for the last 2 years. I'm the person who issues these badges through Credly, and they are participation and community badges, very specific to the kinds of people that participate in our conference, that we would like to validate their participation in the community. They're really about community badges. And closely aligned to this thing called pathway badges. So what are the kinds of badges that might be used to create pathways for students in this kind of lifelong journey? Self-directed badges, maybe some badges designed by the student in their own pathway, or maybe pathway challenge badges like Curtin University have created where students kind of move through a program that is based on a pathway of predetermined badges. Then we've got this idea of capacity building badges. You're participating in a conference right now. Great discourse around innovation, around disruption, and the possibilities for what portfolios are in the future. Building on your professional development, bringing your own leadership and knowledge into this community and the discourse that's occurring. Is there validation or recognition of that? Well, outside of you writing down that you went to a conference, and possibly writing a blog post that could be evidence for it, there's no other form of validation. Something that people really love is this concept of motivation badges, the incentivizer badges. I am a lover of my Fitbit. I love the badges that I get in my Fitbit. If I hit my 10,000 steps and then I go over, I get badges. I've never pulled these badges out. I don't show them to anyone. They have metadata and they are transferable. I can drop them into my social platforms, but they don't really mean anything to anyone else because I'm not competing with anyone. This is just about me and my collection. So then I've got this big but. So what? You know, I have all these badges, but where do they all go? What do I do with them? Well, this is where my solution of friendship happens, because I don't think that we have anywhere for these badges to truly live in an ecosystem that's valued to an owner without a portfolio. So you ask, what is a badge? Well, firstly, I'm going to get you to think about three things. Now remember that you're wearing your ePortfolio hat and lenses of learning. Audience, purpose, context. Three words that we use as ePortfolio practitioners and researchers all the time. Now, how do they then relate to a badge? So I've drawn you an institutional badge. Looks pretty gorgeous. Badges are lovely on the outside. They're semantic images. They hold a lot of information in this kind of digital artifact that sits on the outside of this PNG. And a PNG file can contain information. It's not like a JPEG image that I can just pull off the internet and drop on my desktop and use again, because there's metadata contained in the badge. What's contained in that metadata is a whole range of information. Information about the earner, the person who received and credited the badge, was credited the badge, and the issuer, the person who warranted the evidence for that earner. So this badge holds value, it holds trust, and it has recognition. It does this through an open and visible framework. You can click into this badge and you're able to see very particular bits of information. So the badge contains information that we call metadata. And if we think about the metaphor of a biscuit, the metadata is baked in to the biscuit, to the badge. So the ingredients of the metadata, the badge name, which can also be on the outside of the badge, which gives it, you know, some recognition in its community when someone looks at the outside in some kind of social platform. And inside is description, criteria, the issuer, the evidence. It doesn't have to contain evidence, but many of them do, especially evidence-based badges that I'm referring to. The date it was issued and the standards. Okay, so badges are open and visible. They're stackable, tradable, transferable, granular. To me, one of the most important things is that they're evidence-based and that they're flexible and that they always have the earner and the issuer located in all of this information. The other thing that they're able to do is that they're able to do this thing that relates to, again, both the earner and the issuer around motivation. We can use badges for credentials, validation, learning, association, assessment and recognition. Now this list could go on forever. I could rattle another 50, 60 types of ways that I might be able to use a badge. The ways that I'm thinking about this list is thinking about the relationship and the friendship between the portfolio and the badge, and what this might mean to start to think about the way that we do our learning design, the way that we do our assessment design, the way that we do the backward design for badge designing. Okay, some quick examples that we can talk through later on. Making badge claims. And for me, why we're friends. Now, curating evidence to apply for a badge at the program level. So a student is maybe at a capstone or towards the end of their degree, and they curate a portfolio to demonstrate the criteria and standards of the badge in the digital space. Portfolio is assessed and badged and issued on top of the portfolio. So this to me is one of these really exciting times for us in the portfolio community, when we can start to think about what the potential of portfolios are. Now that we've kind of come full circle, as Helen Chan has beautifully described it recently, that, you know, we've come through the technology concept, the pedagogy concepts, we've linked them together. We're talking very carefully about social pedagogy. We're talking about evidence-based learning. We're talking more and more about context and purpose of portfolios and the value of portfolios to student learning. and some of the shifts in thinking that we're seeing around learning design, how can we start to bring badges into this new innovative space so that the badge criteria and standards now sit on top of a portfolio, so that that portfolio that student has curated with evidence and artefacts to demonstrate and substantiate these badge claims can then be taken out and sit inside their CV, sit inside their LinkedIn space, so that they're now able to demonstrate to an outside community, an employer, maybe a future institution where they would like to study, the kinds of skills that they have that are sitting in this portfolio that we know that people find really difficult to read. They find difficult to assess. But if we have communities who are able to assess and able to issue badges, how this relationship might be able to grow, and we could strengthen the value of portfolios in our institutions for our students, so that they're actually able to demonstrate them to their employers, so that employers might actually start to use badges as particular kind of vetting systems of their own. So instead of having to go, you've got 100 students apply for a job, I've got 100 portfolios with all of these artefacts and philosophies and pieces of evidence, and some students who are able to think about materiality and composition really well and explain how these relate to each other and tell a really great story and thread a lovely weave through a narrative. And then others who just find that really challenging. But the badge sitting on top of that tells another story. Okie doke. Example number 2. Course director has created a badge to recognise unwarranted skills and assessment in relation to associated grades. So we've got a student, they've got 3 pieces of assessment, total grade for the semester is 97 and a high distinction. What's wrapped up in that mark is a whole range of skills and experience and knowledge that go unwarranted outside of a badge claim. So the director in this instance has created a badge on digital scholarship to be awarded to just 4 students in the course for outstanding production and editing skills and demonstration of digital scholarship in the course. So that this student is able to publish this in their LinkedIn portfolio and to demonstrate alongside that high distinction in the testament, what they were able to do, what they learnt and what they demonstrated in this course, verified and credited by a course director who has trust and value in the networks in the discipline. Example 3, because I'm really running out of time. A graduate's ready to apply for a teaching position in a local high school. They've got this fantastic teaching portfolio, but what if the application portfolio contained badges? As well as the teaching philosophy, the CV, and the teaching and learning artefacts. But these badges were co-designed and issued by recognised and trusted people in the networks within this student's learning experience. So practicum badges from supervisors and co-endorsed by schools, possibly even the university. Mentor badges for the work that they've done in their institution themselves. Some of our students are fantastic volunteers. They do reading and writing for exams for students. And then maybe some course badges where they earn, say, in example 2, the digital scholarship badge. Put that all together and you apply for this position with a range of experiences that are actually endorsed. So you've made these claims, but here they are verified by very specific people in the community. So to conclude, I've taken you on a pretty fast journey through my relationship status, friends or foes. To me, friends, partners, pretty strong relationship because of this symbiotic relationship where portfolios, I believe, need open badges to exist, and the open badge needs the portfolio to have narrative, to have story, to have a home to construct meaning around.